All right, shalom, shalom. All right, before I get started, I want to give all the glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors unto my apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and safety to all the sincere Akim that's out here pushing this word in truth and in all sincerity. Shalom. And shalom to you sincere sisters as well. This is going to be another quick one. I did one earlier on the way to work, and I'm doing another one on the way from work. The Lord willing, this is edifying in the spirit, But as the title of this is, and I might change it up after I, get to my stop in this uploads, but it's something to the extent of, old bottles ain't gonna make it, man. In the scriptures, Yahushua said in the book of Matthew that you don't put new wine in old bottles. All right. And what is that going into? These older people, who are the old bottles? These people, and I had a situation at my job where I was talking to this guy, Jake, man, a so-called black man, and he was 48. So me and him are about 10 years apart. And it was a group of us at the job today, just in the spirit. It was an 18-year-old, a 25-year-old, me 38, and then him 48. And we were just talking about different subject matters, different situations, different just everything you could, just different. We were just flowing in the spirit basically. And what I perceived in the spirit was he was the one that was truly disconnected from what's going on in the world, how people are, how men and women move. He was very much so disconnected. And nor is this a video to shit on him. It was, it was a healthy conversation, to the point that it inspired me to do this lesson on understanding, as a teacher in this. A lot of old people aren't going to wake up to this truth, or really any truth for that matter. Like this, the old saying goes, it's hard to teach a old dog new tricks. And like I said, the guy I was working with, older gentleman, he was respectable. He was actually, I would say to a certain extent, he was more so in the spirit of listening, trying to learn, because he recognized that it's like, I guess it's changed, and that's why the Lord said that. And for me, I got a great example of that today with, this is why this devil operates the society the way he does. He wants there to be a real disconnect between the older generation and the younger generation that creates conflict. That's all it does. Because there is such a great disconnect. The disconnect between me and him was great, let alone a 48-year-old man and an 18-year-old man, 20 years apart. It was a great disconnect. And he kept saying himself, because he was speaking about his family and his brothers and their nephew, their sons, and the disconnect that they have. And he kept saying, well, where are the fathers at? Which I get it. And I had to explain to him the influence of this society. See, when you read Revelation 18 or 17 or 18, of course I'm driving, so and it speaks about the Revelation 18, the great harlot, or 17, I get a mistake, the mother of harlots, Babylon the Great, mystery Babylon the Great. This place is a deceptive place full of all manners of witchcraft. It's this place. And I was explaining to him as a parent, your influence as a parent is not stronger than the influence of music, entertainment in general, sports, their peers. You know, that influence is extremely strong. All right. I think I heard a psychologist say that one of the greatest things you could do for your children is dictating or determining where they live at, because where they live at will determine the people of which they are around. Because why? Influence. So again, he couldn't really, even though he kept saying that, he couldn't grasp the changes of which that has happened over a 20, 30, 40-year period to understand why the ideas that he was presenting or questioning don't work anymore. Okay? We're in a whole different time, dealing with the battle. Like, for instance, I had me and this other Jake, the 25-year-old Jake, we kind of had to like slowly walk him through the fact of, like, we started out, I was like, listen, America's problems, our problems are much deeper than black and white, right? And I was speaking to the society is turning into, for the haves and the have-nots, the super rich. Either you're super rich or you're super poor. There's no in between. And he couldn't really grasp that, because when the average so-called black man and the average so-called white man and woman and child, just in general, thinks of gentrification, their first thoughts of gentrification is white people, so-called white people, coming into an area and pushing out the so-called black people. That's where they think of gentrification, when in reality, that's only but a shallow aspect of it. This gentrification that is occurring is a poverty thing. Like, yes, white people came in, gentrified it, but overall, the playing field is changing, and where your pieces are changing as well. Okay, these major cities are getting to a point. This is where we started at. Of you got to be super rich. You got to be up, not a little up. You got to be really up to engage in these city lives, right? So he couldn't really grasp that, in the senses of his first initial thought is to go to racism. White people are doing better than me, so wah. And I was like, well, you got to understand, even in America, the average East Indians make more money than so-called white people collectively. That's why white people are protesting and angry at the country that they work so hard for, and you know, all of this bullshit that they think of is not working in their favor anymore. And that's why white people don't hear you when you say white privilege, because in all actuality, white people don't have the privilege that you think they have. Now, if you're white and rich, you're definitely privileged. See? But this is the complexity of the battlefield. This is not the 1960s, right? This is not Martin Luther King, Malcolm X time period, where it's oppressive white people. Because he asked me a question, and he thought he's like, well, who's oppressing white people? White people. Hey, a 144. All praise Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Who's oppressing white people? White people. Who's oppressing black people? White people. Who's oppressing Spanish people? White people. Notice I said white people are oppressing white people, because that's what's happening. Because if you're not up, if you're not rich, then you're poor, and you're part of the problem. But even rich is not enough. The wealthy are the ones that are determining and dictating these things that I'm speaking on. Okay? So again, this is why the Lord said you don't pour new wine in an old bottle, because these old bottles, they're out of touch. They're out of touch. These old people are still running games and thought processes and I got a brother caller. Shalom.